Hey, what's going on, nation? Today I'm joined by Josh from Colossus Fitness, and we're going to go over with you guys the 5 dumbest mistakes when performing the dumbbell bicep curl. And if you guys missed the last video on the 6 dumbest mistakes for the overhead press, I'll post a link to that down in the info section below.
The dumbbell bicep curl is an excellent exercise you guys can utilize if you want to get some huge biceps, really work on that arm growth. It's excellent because if it's done correctly, you're going to be working both that short and long head.
But before we get started, guys, make sure you sign up to join Colossus Fitness. I'll put a link to their YouTube channel down in the info section below. And if you haven't already, be sure to turn on notifications, click that bell so you never miss a new video upload from me. Alright guys, so before we get into the mistakes, I think it's going to be very important to clarify what proper form actually is when performing this movement. And also, I've been doing cheat reps lately in some of my videos for those of you who just watched my back and bicep workout, and I want to take a little bit of time to explain the cheat rep as well. So first of all, proper form for an alternating dumbbell curl, alright? You're going to start off standing obviously with both arms, palms facing forward like this. One of the functions of the bicep is to help supinate the forearm. So as soon as you supinate and you start in this position, you're already activating your biceps. It's very important. Once in place, guys, you're going to keep your elbow in front of your hips, and then while keeping your elbow in one spot, you're going to curl all the way to the top, get a nice hard contraction, so squeeze your bicep as hard as you can, and then you're going to control the negative on the way down, all right? You don't want this and you don't want this. You want to keep that elbow in one spot, control it on the way down, hard contraction on the way up, control on the way down. That's what perfect form looks like. Now, in my video when I was doing my cheat reps, you guys might have seen that I was skipping the concentric part of the movement in order to focus on a controlled negative. That's how you can overload your muscles to help support more growth. And what I mean by that is, for those of you who didn't see the workout, you might have noticed that I grabbed really heavy dumbbells, and instead of being super strict on the way up like this, I was actually using a little momentum and kind of throwing the dumbbell to the top position. But once I got to the top, I was then controlling the dumbbell on the way down to overload the bicep, for, like I said, to support more muscle growth. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's go over the first mistake of doing a dumbbell curl, which is skipping half of the movement. Now, there is an exercise called a hammer curl, and there's an exercise called the dumbbell curl, which we're doing today. A lot of people in the gym, they grab weights that are too heavy, and they end up hammer curling halfway, and then bicep curling the other half of the way. So they're skipping from here to here, which is the hardest part of the movement, and you're losing out on all that bicep engagement that could be adding to your gains. Now, why do people normally skip the first part of the movement? Because it's way easier to hammer curl and then do this as opposed to doing a strict dumbbell curl from the top to the bottom. Remember, you always want to be working within full range of motion. Also, guys, when you do a hammer curl, you're not really targeting the biceps. The biceps are activated, but by doing this, you're placing a lot more emphasis on the brachialis and the brachioradialis, and if your goal is to build bigger biceps, you don't want to be doing that. Now, a lot of people have asked me, isn't it okay or aren't you supposed to twist the dumbbell during a dumbbell curl for more activation? And the answer is yes, but it's not what you think. If you want to focus on twisting the dumbbell for more activation, you still have to train within that range of motion, but then when you get to the top, that's when you twist your wrist in. And just from doing this, guys, and you can even grab a light dumbbell like I have and twist your wrist in, you're going to feel a lot more activation right through here, right on the short head of the bicep. So if you're going to twist, don't twist halfway up and then curl. Twist like this. Come all the way up, and then twist it in, and then come all the way down.
Mistake number 2, guys, is not earning your reps. I see so many people coming in the gym, hitting it like this. They're swinging away. They're just trying to burn through that set. That's not what you're going to want to do. You want to utilize mind-muscle connection and really work the muscle. So to do that, you have to come up, get a nice big contraction, utilize that negative. You're going to want to make sure that every rep is being earned. You're not doing a couple right and a couple wrong. Every rep even when you're tired, you want to make sure that you're aiming for muscle breakdown. You don't want to just be swinging away. You want to make sure, once again, big contraction, you're forcing blood into the muscle with a nice slow negative.
Mistake number 3 is having a deflated core while you're doing the lift and leaning back too far once the weight starts to get a little too heavy. And what I mean by that is, whenever you do any exercise in the gym, the stronger and the more solid your core is, the more power you're going to have to do the exercise. So if you're doing heavy dumbbell curls and you're lifting the weight in front of you like this, obviously that weight is pulling you forward. So if you're not taking in a breath and keeping that core tight, you're going to deflate and fall forward, and you're going to lose a lot of power that you could be putting into focusing on just doing the curl. So it's really important to make sure that you're resetting your breath when you need to, and you're keeping that core as solid as possible as you do your curls. Now, there's also another thing. You can keep your core kind of solid, but you can also then start leaning back too far, and that also happens because you're lifting too much weight. Even when you're doing a cheat curl, you should still be staying upright like this. If you start really leaning back and throwing your back and whole body into a curl like that, you're taking a lot of tension out of your bicep and you're transferring it to your lower back, which can obviously cause an injury because you're going into like a massive spinal extension, and you don't want to do that. So guys, whenever you're doing a dumbbell curl, if you want to get the most power to lift the most amount of weight, take in a breath, keep that core nice and tight, and then perform your curls. And then as soon as you run out of air, obviously, reset your breath, take in another breath, and then do some more curls just like this. It's all about core control.
Mistake number 4, guys, is hooking on the bicep curl. I'm going to switch to the side so you guys can see what I mean. So they're going to start with the weight back here, and they're going to come up, and they're actually going to keep that bend in their shoulder the entire time. And they're really going to take out the full range of motion in the rep, as opposed to a normal rep where you're keeping your elbows tight to your body, really straightening that bicep, not overextending so it hurts your elbow, but getting it to where it's fully stretched and fully contracted. You guys can see the difference between this, which is a proper rep, and a completely wrong rep where you're just kind of uppercutting the air in a sense. You're just coming up, boxing the air in like a pendulum motion, as opposed to, once again, in front, controlled, tight to your body, getting a good contraction, and really it's almost like a preacher curl because you're ensuring that your arm is kept in one motion. You're not using that deltoid to compensate for a weak bicep.
All right, guys, so the 5th and final mistake is that when you're doing the bicep curl, you're not keeping tension in your wrist and your hand throughout the movement. And what I mean by this is, especially at the top and on the negative, instead of relaxing your wrist and kind of just dropping and not really having control over the dumbbell, try squeezing the dumbbell as hard as you can. And a little added tip, instead of keeping your wrist straight, try turning it in slightly towards your body. What you're going to notice, and this works on dumbbells and barbells, when you start to come down, if you keep your wrist slightly turned towards you, you're going to feel a lot more activation throughout your bicep, especially the bottom half right here. And it doesn't even take a lot of weight to feel that reaction or that difference. The next time you guys go to the gym, grab like a 10-pound dumbbell or a 15-pound dumbbell and get to the top like this and practice turning your wrist in towards you and controlling the negative on the way down like this, and you'll start to see exactly what I mean as you feel a lot more activation through the entire bicep on both the short head and the long head.
All right, guys, thank you so much to Scott for having me on this channel, and thanks for listening to my tips. Hopefully this can really help you guys do the dumbbell bicep curl correctly. Don't be a hero and do it wrong. Exactly, guys. And if you want to see the playlist to all my dumbest mistakes videos, I'll post that down in the info section below. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, more good stuff coming soon. See you guys.